everyone, welcome back to Sarah's Stitch. This is episode 46 and I'm trying out the mini mic today, so let me know how it's working. There's a lot going on right now. The heater's running, the dishwasher is running, so I figured we'd try the mini mic, see how the audio is, if it sounds okay. So please let me know on that. If you're new here, my name is Sarah. I'm a knitter based out of Hoboken, New Jersey, and I am an accountant in my day-to-day life, but then in pretty much all hours outside of work, I am a knitter. So this is my place on the internet where I can show and tell all of you about my finished objects, works in progress, plans, acquisitions, all of that fun stuff, because my family is for sure sick of hearing about it, and my boyfriend. So thank you for being here. If you have any questions about anything I talk about today, all of the patterns, local yarn shops, yarn brands, etc. will be linked down below, as well as links to my Ravelry, Instagram, TikTok, all of that good stuff. And if you enjoy, please like and follow me so you can see more updates as we go throughout 2026. So what I'm wearing is my terrazzo sweater by Petite Knit. This is the size small. I knit it last year, and I used the yarns that Petite Knit used in her original sample, I believe. So it is knit out of, let's see, Noro Silk Garden Sock Solo in the color S, which is Omi Tama, and then Isager Silk Mohair in the color S6 or 6 Ballet Tights. So this is how it worked up. I really love it, and also, I don't know if you can see, but the brown stripe here is incredibly helpful for figuring out what side is the front and the back, because this brown stripe is only across the front for some reason. But I love it. It's so cozy and warm. I don't get to wear it as much as I'd like to, just because I feel like the turtleneck's maybe a bit too high, or like I want to block it out. But it's perfect for today. So it's Sunday, and I've got the Eagles game going on in the background for the wild card game. And yeah, for today's podcast, we're going to go through normal podcast format of finished objects, works in progress, acquisitions, and plans. So without further ado, let's get started on finished objects. And I guess we'll start from longest on needles to least longest on needles. But let me clip this somewhere so I can show easily. Please hold. All right, I'm hoping this sounds okay. Otherwise, I'm going to be filming all over again. But my first finished object, I believe it's the longest standing finished object of today's podcast, is the cloud sweater for my mom. So this is knit out of Lang Karina, yes, in the color 64. I believe this is discontinued because I was on the Lang website the other day trying to figure out what to do with the leftovers, and I didn't see it. So there are also patterns for it, but it's not available. Like, you can't even look it up on the Lang website, so it's, I had to guess, discontinued. We got it from a yarn shop in Austria on our Christmas trip 2 years ago. So this is her Kitzbühel sweater, but the composition of this yarn is 63% alpaca, 37% polyamide, and it is a chainette construction. So that's the structure of it. And it does do this fun little fade in between, like a berry pink and a dark purple. So I knit the size small for my mom, and I followed everything to pattern. I did make the arms a little bit longer just because my mom is tall, so I generally do have to extend the arms and the body length a little bit for her. But this yarn did grow a decent amount in blocking. It's still a little damp because I blocked it yesterday. And also I tried to, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, I tried to match up the sleeves kind of, just so it didn't bother my mom that much. I think she's the type of person that would want as close to matching sleeves as you could do it. But I did do, I don't know if you'll be able to see, I tried to get all of the hems and cuffs at the same part in the fade, just so that all kind of tied in together. And I feel like I was successful in that. So I'm happy about that. My parents are coming up, stay with me for a few days on Wednesday or Thursday. So we'll give it to her then. But I'm happy this is done. It's one less sweater quantity of yarn I have in the apartment for her to make her a sweater. And the pattern is very easy to follow. It's petite knit pattern, so like you do expect that. And I think it knit up relatively quickly, but I'm not sure if that's because of the yarn just constantly color changing, or if it was just because it was a fun pattern to knit. I do want to make one for myself as well. I've got a decent amount of Newston that I think would be really pretty in a cloud sweater that I could hold with either a silk mohair or like a loose strand of alpaca that I think would be lovely. So that may be a 2026 plan, we'll see, but for now, that is the cloud sweater. Next, I have to go get it because it's currently drying on the floor because I just blocked it this afternoon, so please hold. This is still a little damp, so I'm going to try to not hold it up that much, but I do have the swatch. So this is the swatch for it. This is my swatch for the Silly Slipover, also by Petite Knit. I started making this last year, I think sometime in like the late winter, early spring. I knit this out of Drops Charisma, and I don't know what the color is. The color will be on the Ravelry page, but this is how it looks. But like I said, it is still a bit damp, so it's a bit heavy, but this is what it looks like. I'm really happy with how this turned out. This is my first vest I've ever made, I think. No, it's not, but it's not the first vest I've ever made. I've made at least one other vest because I made my own pattern for vest, but this is the first pattern I followed for vest. And I think this is going to be such a good spring transitional piece, and also like just a good office item of clothing to put over like a Uniqlo heat tech like turtleneck or just a long sleeve or a t-shirt, and you get a little extra warmth, but you don't have to deal with a whole bulky sweater or like under a jacket, things like that. So I'm very excited to wear this, and it was on the needles for a long while, so I'm happy it's done. I knit a size small, which I didn't think I had, but apparently I had for this, and I followed everything in the pattern exactly. I used the recommended needles. I actually gauge swatched, so good job me. I believe Charisma is a non-superwash yarn, so it should be a little bit warmer. It doesn't feel itchy by any means, but it doesn't feel superwash to me. So I think it'd be fine next to skin, but I don't anticipate wearing this next to skin often. Maybe when I'm in London this summer, it would be a good potential next to skin option to be a little bit warmer. But yeah, so I didn't do the exact bind off that Petite Knit calls for in the pattern because I don't typically like rearranging 2x2 stitches. I think that is what I did on the bottom ribbing. The bottom ribbing has been done probably since May or June, and I don't remember what I did. So when I was picking up for the neck and the armholes, I just decided I'll do whatever bind off I want up there because those will all be closer to each other anyway. And for that, I did a 2x2 sewn bind off without rearranging the stitches, and I will link the video below, which a viewer kindly suggested to me a couple years ago when I was doing 2x2 tubular, and it is great. I do really like how it works up without having to rearrange anything. And you don't need to do those setup rows for, I think it's Italian, it has the setup rows. So there's no setup rows or anything like that. And I think that's all I have to say about this sweater. Best. Sorry if I've been hitting the mic. I forgot that I had it on. Okay, so I can only find one sock blocker right now, so I will put them on singular sock blockers, but here are my 2 sets of socks that I finished. So the first set I finished is the Cozy Knitter 2025 Advent Skein. I did this over the course of Christmas this year, and I did a top-down 2mm needle 9-inch circular sock. The blue that I used for the contrasts is Magpie Fiber Swanky sock in the color Midnight Train to Georgia. And it's just this really pretty dark blue, navy, like nearly black. And then for the actual sock pattern, I didn't follow a specific pattern. I just did a 2x2 rib with the first round of every new color fully knit so that there weren't any pearl bumps, which I think looks really nice. It's such a squishy sock. And then the heel flap, I did just a standard slip stitch heel flap with a square heel turn to try and eliminate the issue that can sometimes happen with self-striping of the stripe right after the heel is much thinner compared to everything else, because the number of stitches that it has to go around is so much bigger that the stripes just get thinner inherently. And I did this just because I do typically like a short row, or not short row, a heel flap, or I guess, yeah, or a short row heel more than an afterthought heel on my socks. So I'm okay with it being like, I think it's 1 row shorter for the stripe, and then every stripe after that figures itself out in terms of width of stripes. And then the toe I did was just a standard wedge toe. And I finished them on Christmas Day. I actually finished one before Christmas Day, and one was, the majority of the knitting was done Christmas Day. I just had to do the toe, and I didn't do the toe until I got back from our Christmas vacation. But I'm happy with my accomplishments on that in terms of getting majority of the knitting done before Christmas and sticking to the Advent sock. So this is the second sock that I finished, second pair of socks I finished. There are 2. And what I did for these was I used the Mountain Walk Chunky pattern by Florence, and I wanted to do a toe up version rather than cuff down, because this was 2 50-gram. So I had 2 50-gram skeins of this yarn, which is a Cesia yarn. We got it in Chamonix from the yarn shop in Chamonix while we were there. These are for my mom, and she picked out the yarn because she wanted something to remember our trip this year from. And this was the yarn she picked out. It's a DK weight, and because I only had the 2 balls originally, I wanted to do toe up so that I could use the most of the balls that I could to the best of my ability. So I used the instructions for the Bear Paw socks by Andrea Mowry, which are toe up with I believe a Fleegle heel. And then the actual, it's tough to see because of the patterning, but the actual texture, there are the faux cables every other rib, which is what the Mountain Walk Chunky socks are. And this was the sock I knit first, which was fine, perfect. And then this was my second sock, which if I had the second sock blocker, that would be helpful. But because, as I mentioned, my mom, I think, well, for socks, I know she would prefer socks to match perfectly. So I tried to match them up as much as I could, but when I was knitting this sock, I hadn't thought ahead to see where both of the skeins started, so I had to pull out maybe 10 or so grams of the second sock second ball to start this sock. So I had to pick up another ball of yarn. Thankfully, we were still in Chamonix, so I could go get one. But that is why there's also more ends in this one, because I had to go get more yarn. And I think I did it like decent. Obviously, you can't see very well because I don't have a sock blocker, but I did do like a pretty good job of matching them up. It got a little questionable in here, but at the top here, I pulled out yarn to like get at least the blues to match up, and I think my mom will be happy with that. So again, going to weave in the ends for these and have them ready for my mom when she gets here on Wednesday. That is it for finished objects. Next we will go, I do have a half finished object, so we'll go through that. And then we will go through works in progress. So the half finished object is this singular sock, which is the Christmas jammies sock set by a Homespun House. It's a couple years old, so I don't know if Molly's still dyeing this one at Christmas time, but this is what it looks like. It came with the contrast, which I think is Poppy from Molly's Colors, if I had to guess. And then it's this really pretty, here it is scanned up. It's really like a dark rainbow kind of in terms of colors. And I just kind of made up my own pattern. I did a couple, I think 3 rounds each for the cuff with the alternated stripes. And again, like my Advent socks, I knit the first round of the new stripe color so that there wasn't pearl bumps in the old stripe color. And then for the actual leg of the foot and top of the foot, leg of the sock and top of the foot. Goodness. I don't know if it's going to turn out or if you'll be able to see it, but I did kind of a broken rib. I did knit one, purl one for 2 rounds, and then just a knit round. So kind of a broken rib, not really. And I made these longer than I normally make my socks. They're about 60 rounds with a 20 or so round cuff. And then same as my other socks that are fingering weight, I did, again, I don't know how well this is going to turn out just because the colors are so dark and also change so much, but I did a slip stitch heel flap and square heel turn for the heel and a wedge toe for the toe, and knit these on my favorite 9-inch circulars. That's what the wedge toe looks like when it's not on the blocker. 9-inch circulars, and then I just used DPNs for the toe. And if I have a DPN handy, I usually will use it for the cuff as well, but depends on what's available at the time when I get to the heel. So that is my half finished object. So next and only other work in progress at the moment is Shiv's sweater. So for those of you who have been here for a while, you will have seen this before. This is the sweater I'm knitting for my boyfriend. It is a fingering weight sweater. So that is how you know I love him. And it is self-drafted also, which is not incredibly helpful for the chart at least. Now it's fine because it's just in the round, but this is the close-up of it. So it has just a 1x1 lower collar, and then I made up this chart pattern based off of a sweater that he saw. I think it was actually a sweatshirt he saw online when he Googled winter sweaters for men. And this is what came up. Not this exact one, but a similar designed one from Shein. That was a sweatshirt with like a printed on knit pattern. So I patterned up this pattern to make it into a sweater for him. And I am actually very happy with how it turned out in terms of the actual pattern. I'm using Tin Merino Wool, is the cream from Sandnes Garn. And it is in the color 2321, which I believe is either almond or marzipan. And then the blue, which I think I already had in stash, or I already had for some reason, is Baby Wool Lanet by Sandnes Garn, and the color is 6033. and I think it's medium blue or just blue. I'm not sure, but it's the same colors I also use for my key sweater, so we're gonna coordinate. But I am finished with this sleeve. I've got this sleeve going, and then I just need to finish the body. So I probably have 5 or 6 more inches I need to know on the body, which is so fun. I would like to try and finish this by early February because I'm going to see Shiv again in the first weekend of February. We're going to Abu Dhabi for one of his friends' weddings, and I'd like to give this to him there so he can take it home to London and wear it for the rest of the winter and enjoy it, and it will be off my plate. So I'm trying to do a decent amount of it every single day. The plan for tonight is to get the sleeve done, so that, which I think is doable, maybe, sleeve done, so that I just have to focus on the body. And if I can do like 10 rounds on the body a day, I think that will be perfect in getting it ready for him for Abu Dhabi. And if it's not perfectly ready when we get to Abu Dhabi, I've got like a 19-hour flight, so plenty of knitting time. So that is this. I have talked about it before, but in case you haven't seen that video, all of the ribbing's knit on a 2.5mm needle, and then the whole body of the sweater, arms, etc., is a 3mm. So it's going to take a while, but he's worth it. And I cast it on when I was in India. So because I was in India, I brought limited needles with me, and I brought a 3, knowing a 3 would work perfectly fine for this sweater and the gauge. So 3mm it is. And I'm really liking how the fabric works up. This is the swatch I made. It's not with the yarn I'm using, the cream. This white was too white for Shiv, so he asked if I could use a more creamy white rather than a white. But this is the swatch, and it feels divine. So I can't wait to have this washed and like soften up and even out all of that for him, because this is lovely. Next, we will go into acquisitions and plans. I already mentioned this was an acquisition, the Sezia for my mom's socks, and then the other yarn I got in Chamonix for myself for a sweater is I got 5 skeins of Tibetan Cloud in the color Wild Daisies, which is like the white creamy color, and I got 2 skeins of Tibetan Cloud in Genziana, which is a really pretty dark navy. That is, I'm not sure if this is going to be inverse or not, but that's the name of the colorway. So I have 2 skeins of this, 5 skeins of this, and I need to get 3 other colors, but the yarn shop in Chamonix has decreased its size, so all of the Tibetan Cloud was out of my reach to begin with. So I figured I would get the main 2 colors I wanted for my sweater there, and I would get the remaining 3 colors here once I was back. So the plan for this yarn is to become an Albertville sweater, which is one of the Dale of Norway sweaters, the Olympic sweaters, because we went to Courchevel this year for Christmas, which is the closest, I believe, mountain range to where Albertville is in France. So in Courchevel, like, they had the ski jump, they had, I think, a couple downhill races when the Olympics were held in Albertville, which I think was in 92. So my plan is to make an Albertville with this yarn. How many times can I say Albertville? This will be the main color, and then this blue will be all the flecks and everything. So I need to come up with a 3-color, I think it's 3-color, 3-color combo that I would like to make for the contrast portions of all of the color works. I mean, the whole sweater is color work, but the stripe portions of the color work, it's 3 colors, and I can't decide if I like I've seen people fade it, I've seen people have like stark differences in their colors. I think I would like it to be more of a low contrast 3 colors, but I can't decide what 3 colors I would like. So that will be a plan for sometime this winter of getting those 3 more skeins and starting to knit this lovely sweater, which I think is going to be, it's such a nice memory of we were in Courceville for Christmas, Chamonix for New Year's, and this will be my sweater that is the whole of the 2025 Christmas and New Year's trip. And so my plan / next cast on that I'm thinking of is I'm finally going to be using this beautiful yarn, which I've had for a couple years now. This is Ginger Twist Studio Cumulus Aran in the colorway Factor Girls, and this yarn is beautiful. It is 80% alpaca, 20% silk. It is an Aran weight. I knit up a swatch already, so this will be cast on probably either tonight if I finish the sleeve on this, or in the next few days. And my plan is, I think, to make a Sonia sweater with this, because I just think that this and the Sonia will pair so lovely together as a nice basic throw on, kind of just goes with everything sweater. I was between a couple different patterns, but I think I've landed on the Sonia. I did gauge swatch, chucked it in the bath with my silly slip over. I think I need to go down needle size, but that's okay. And I'm going to be knitting this up hopefully very soon and get this into a sweater rather than just sitting in my stash waiting to be used, which I'm very excited about. So those are all my plans, acquisitions, all of that for the last few weeks. Yes, weeks. I lied. I have one more acquisition. This is my sock set that came with my Homespun House Advent. I have all the Advent unwrapped and everything. It's in its box, but I just don't feel like getting up and undoing it and putting it all out. So at some point in the future, I will show it all laid out. I've numbered them all as I was opening them, so I'll show both of the Advents. But this is the sock set that came with it, which is such a fun speckled colorway. It's called Scrooge. And I think this is going to be like the most fun set of socks to knit up this summer. So I'm going to save it for the summer, I think. But it is gorgeous. It's so fun and speckly and so good. So, but I do want to get a couple skeins of yarn to knit my Homespun House Advent into a blanket, I think, is what I've decided on. All of my blankets I have that are knit are out of Homespun House, and I love them. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And then when I move, it'll be a nice brightening up to a boy apartment that is very gray. So that is my plan for the Homespun House yarns. I haven't decided if I want to marl it like I did for my habitation throw, or if I want to have them all like doubled up or by themselves so that they can shine as they are, and then add in contrast to break it up. But we will see. I'm planning on filming a knitting bingo. So I've seen a lot of people do it, and then like the Table 10 girls were talking about it, and then I thought, yeah, I'm gonna do it. So I need to sit down and figure out what I want on my bingo card for this year, and I will have a sit down video probably in the next week or so talking about what I'm gonna put on my bingo card. I have a few things jotted down, but it's currently on my phone and you're on my phone, so I can't go through all of it right now. So that is it for plans and upcoming videos, things like that. If you're still watching, thank you so much for sticking around, hearing out all my plans, catching up with me. I hope you're doing well, and 2026 is off to a good start, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!